raised the issue of continuing with the diesel price hikes. You have also, in whether it's your op-ed or other interviews or articles, raised the issue of being able to cut down on some of our subsidies, maybe even the food subsidy, increase the price of gas, increase power prices. Do you think this government will have the gumption to do all of that in the near term?
Well, some of it they have to do. You see, today we are in a situation, if you take power, there are states and states where power is available, but the electricity board is not lifting that power because the cost is too high.
Right.
And if they lift power at 5 rupees, and they can't charge it to the consumers. So there are blackouts and brownouts. Power is there, but affordability is not there. So we have to find some way. How do we, because there's no point putting more and more power plants which are generation plants which are producing power at 5 and 6 and 7 rupees when the consumer wants to pay 3 or 4 rupees maximum. Industry will pay, but the public may not be able to. So these are things which one has to look at on the subsidy, that how do we, on agriculture I feel that the farmer is getting a raw deal and the consumers are getting a raw deal. The gap, the cost, the intermediation between the farmer and the consumer
taking the cream away.
Is too high. It's the highest in any part of the world, 2/3. So if you are paying 100 rupees, the farmer only gets 33 rupees.
Got it.
All over the world, the farmer should get 66 rupees, and 1/3 should be in logistics, transportation, warehousing, redistribution, all that.
Right, yeah.
So we have to improve the efficiency of the agriculture economy and the agricultural sector by logistics, better warehouse, better transportation, and this will bring in food inflation down.
Right. But this is again a longer term measure. Shorter
term,
do you expect
but it can happen in a year or two. It can happen in a year if you put your mind to it. It can happen within a year.
But this is a government that will be fighting on many fronts, right, sir, because of where we are in the economy. So priority area should be what? 100 days, give me 2 things that you think this government must do, which is doable in 100 days. Because otherwise, all of your plans, sir, would take them at least 5-6 years to finish doing.
I don't think it will take that long. As I said, immediate should be simplification. Go on the basis of, we are going to simplify rules and laws. That makes business easy, that makes life simpler.
Okay, I mean, I'm still curious as to how it would be achieved in 100 days. Will you be disappointed if you don't see this government take tough steps when it comes to all the increase in prices that you've spoken of?
I think it's too early to say.
Because they've got an inflation problem on their hands. They've got the possibility of a deficient monsoon.
Food related. And that is why I'm saying that the APMC, the pricing, the logistics, the distribution, the redistribution, all this sector has to be more efficient. It is not efficient at all. Food Corporation of India needs to be revitalized.
Okay. The other view in the markets is this, that the economy has bottomed out and the interest rate cycle has peaked out. These are cyclical things that they believe have occurred already, and that this government will benefit from the turnaround, so to speak, in the cycle. Would you agree with that? Do you believe, in all your conversations with the business leaders that you have, that the economy has bottomed out?
See, I believe the worst is over, but I still don't see the investment cycle picking up. The investment cycle has to pick up. Manufacturing has come down to such a low level that everything that India consumes, most of it that India consumes, is imported from China. This table is imported from China. Now, why should tables and chairs be imported from China? Because they are not available here. And ready-made, home delivery, cheaper cost. So we have to encourage manufacturing, which creates jobs. Creation of job is one of the biggest challenges the government will have.
But the investment cycle has not picked up.
So
no signs of it picking up.
Unless they give some incentives, carrots, even simplify starting a manufacturing units, how will employment pick up in India? Service sector cannot absorb the entire growth in employment. And when we had 9% GDP growth rate, the new jobs created for every 1% increase in GDP, you require 9 lakh jobs.
9 lakh.
9 lakh. So when we came down from 9 to 5 and we lost 4% of our GDP, 36 lakh jobs per year were lost. So we need to create employment. I think priority number 1 should be employment. And that goes with what I mentioned about simplicity, coordination, transparency.
So allow business to get back to doing business. Do you think the inflation, the interest rate cycle has peaked, sir?
Well, interest rate is very clearly linked to inflation.
Yeah.
And bulk of the inflation in our numbers is food inflation. Again, we expected a much better grain output this year, but again some winter showers had brought a dampener, and we won't have that much increase in food production this year as was anticipated. So we have to see what kind of food inflation, how to bring.
So you're not ruling out maybe another hike in rates?
No,
you're not ruling it out. I'm not saying you're expecting one.
I'm not expecting one.
Yeah, you're not expecting one.
If inflation numbers worsen, they have not, last 2-3 months, they've been steady. They have not come down sharply.
The core has been sticky. But
yeah, it's sticky. So I don't see rates changing, put it that way.
For a longish time?
For 3 to 6 months.
When do you see, if this government does even 10% of everything that you've laid out in this interview, when do you see the economy starting to pick up?
See, it is not a button you can press and it starts.
No, but it's confidence, no, sir. If people see the right moves being made.
Confidence has already come.
Hope has come.
Hope has come, and even confidence that things will improve, things will be better.
But that does.
So now the government has to deliver.
Will that mean that the billions of dollars of projects stuck at the Birla Group or any other group in this country, right? Whether it's the Birla Group or the Godrej's, or I'm just taking names, they're not going to immediately start moving on. These guys are not going to immediately start putting money in. So I'm saying, when do you expect that to happen?
I think you should give a year for the government to perform.
A year. So that's the realistic expectation timeline, right? There are a couple of other things.
So I would really look at the budget next year.
The budget
which will be more significant because there's not much time. So
it's not this budget that you're pinning your hopes in, and you're in fact saying reduce your expectations from this budget, give them some time to settle in, and maybe increase your expectations for February next year. So one of the things that's being bandied around is maybe that this new government will want their own man in the position of the governor of the Reserve Bank of India, as opposed to continuing with Governor Rajan, who was an appointee by the outgoing government. Do you think that if they were to do that, even if their reasons were justified, saying we are entitled to appoint our own person, that it would send out a very negative message?
I've said that in one of my articles, or one of the press persons, that I think it will give a terribly wrong signal, and it's an independent position. We have one of the best qualified persons in the world, and we should not tamper with that position.
Okay, I'm sorry I asked you to repeat it, but it's just that it'd be nice if the message went out clearly. That's it. The final question, the last time we spoke was in 2011. At that time, we were in the middle of a bunch of businesses, being pulled up for what you called then, crony come latelys. And I want to go back to that question. This government too, and this political dispensation too, is linked with several business houses, some of them situated in Gujarat or outside. Is that just a natural occurrence of all business that works in the state and therefore it's close to the state government? Or are you worried that, we might see crony capitalism in a different way? But it's still crony capitalism. The players may change, but it's still the same problem.
So if you've got massive factories in a state, and if you're employing large number of people, you're increasing the GDP of that state, you're increasing and improving the prosperity of that state. Obviously you want those same industrialists to put more money in the state, and obviously the powers that be will be closer, like in Maharashtra, companies that are here are obviously closer to the Maharashtra government, whether it's BJP or Congress or NCP. So
you're saying it's a natural occurrence?
It's a natural phenomenon.
It doesn't worry you at all?
It doesn't worry me at all.
Okay, so my final question then is linked to my first question, Mr. Parekh. Are we likely to see you play a role in this new government? You have advised so many.
I've answered that. I mentioned that I'm on 2 committees which we are going to give the report shortly to the new government.
But those are advisory committees. I'm saying a more active role within government, not from the outside. No response?
No.
No or no response?
No response, no.
All right, Mr. Parekh. Thank you for bearing with my uncomfortable questions, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.